Okay, how to promote your business and get more clients. And if you've not been on one of my classes before, don't wait for me to say, have you got any questions? I will from time to time. Afternoon, Isabel. Nice to see you here from time to time. But just ask questions as I go because, you might have a question in your mind and you wait to be polite until I say any questions and then you've forgotten it. So ask questions as you go, or as I go, and I will do my best to answer them. And if that irritates one or two of you, apologies. It's just the way I teach and I've got no ambition to change it. Okay, so before we start, I would every now and again somebody would say, yes, well, it was very easy for Terence because he started in 1989. It was a lot easier then. Well, that's a moot point, actually. Because, yes, it's true. I started in 1989 and there was no internet. There was no social media. The term social media didn't exist. What there was 38 hypnotherapists in 2 square miles where I worked, all of whom advertised in the Yellow Pages, which was the equivalent of social media, I suppose, all of whom advertised in Yellow Pages, several pages of hypnotherapists, and in the local newspaper. And also, of course, people were very superstitious about hypnotherapy because that's all I was doing in those days. People were very concerned about it. So it wasn't really very easy at all. I opened my consulting room doors on May the 1st, 1989. I think it's May the 1st. And by September, I had 13 clients, and I thought that was pretty poor. Everybody told me it was very good. By a year's time after that, I had 25, and I've never had less than 25 clients in a week since then. And at one point, I was doing very nearly 40 clients a week. I just couldn't find the extra hour. I was doing 39 clients a week and had a waiting list of around 40. So it's fair to say that I know what I'm talking about building a business. So just before people say, yeah, well, it's easier in his days, it actually wasn't. It was more difficult. There was a Baptist church just down the road from me. And every time I walked past it on the way down to get my lunchtime sandwich, the pastor used to come out and curse me and scold me and make the sign of the cross at me and all sorts of things. So let's get some screen notes up here. There are no notes, no handouts to go with this, as I said before, but there are these screen notes to help you. And this is what I'm working from the screen notes. But as I say, do ask me questions if you need clarification. The first one is very obvious. That says, make sure people know you exist. Well, it's no good telling somebody and say, just put the word about. You'd be surprised how many therapists believe they've just got to do a hypnotherapy qualification, sometimes not even a very long one, and just wait for people to beat the path to their door because somebody has told them that, well, once you're qualified in hypnotherapy, people will beat the path to your door. Not quite true, actually. You could actually have the most beautiful consulting room. You could have gone to the most fantastic training course. You could be super skilled and extremely elegant and smart, very intelligent, with a special phone number and an 0800 number, in fact, everything. But unless people knew you were there, you wouldn't get a single client. At the other end of it, as I often used to teach in my classes, if you were only just got the smattering of skill, you'd learned a little bit but hadn't retained most of it, but you knew a little bit, and you'd got a tiny office you worked from that had seen better days, and you didn't even have a telephone. But if you were to walk up and down the high street, shouting and waving your arms, hello, hello, if you've got a problem, come and see me, I'll help you. Guess who will get the most clients? It's making sure people know you exist. You don't have to walk about with a sandwich board on these days, and you don't have to walk up and down the high street waving your arms about, although I don't suppose it would do you any harm if you did. But it's not something that you need to do. So make sure people know you exist. Now, these days, social media is the thing. It's very, very easy for you to make sure people know that you're there. Very easy. But most people don't exploit it. And no matter what you hear, Facebook is still the place to make sure that you're evident. If you handle it properly, Facebook makes life so easy. Sometimes people tell me, these days it's not really Facebook anymore. It's one of the others, Instagram or Pinterest or whatever. But if you talk around to people, almost everybody's got a Facebook connection. Not everybody, but most have. So it's no good simply telling people. You have to show them. And that's what I mean by social media. Make sure that you have a business page on Facebook and make sure it looks right. Put a decent picture on the top of it, a picture of something related to therapy. You can put your own photograph up there. If it's a professional photograph, it needs to be a professional photograph. having one taken on the beach or while you're on holiday somewhere or sitting in a deck chair, which people would sometimes put up, not so good. I'm rather, because I'm old, I'm a bit of a stick in the mud. And I don't really like to put pictures of anything other than something that is extremely relevant to what I'm doing on Facebook. So I've got the current picture of me is one that was taken at an event. So I've got a tux and a bow tie on. One of the few pictures of me that I like, actually. I've got that one up. Then I occasionally swap them around. I don't put meaningless pictures on just to make it look right. Everything that you do on Facebook should be calculated to show people your skills. No matter what it is, idle chit-chat is not particularly good. And I always advise strongly, if you want to use social media to get clients, don't get into politics. Because if you get into politics, you're going to guarantee that you alienate a lot of people who see it. I'm not politically orientated at all. Vicky, on Facebook page, I'm coming to that, Vicky, in a moment. Yes, you can only invite your friends, Vicky. You're absolutely right. I'm about to cover that, actually. It is actually much easier than you realise. It's not easy to get to become successful. Sometimes people say, oh, you read these things, take my business plan and you'll be find success with no problem. That's just not true. They're just trying to sell you a business plan. So make sure you have your business page. It's no good having the page if people don't see it. So you need to post something on there every day. You need to post something in the main news feed every day that links to your business page. You need to put interesting stuff on. Your business page should be a public page, obviously. If you put something on there every single day, and this is really important, I mean, every single day that's relevant to what you do. Now, every day in the newspapers, you'll see bits about anxiety, depression, PTSD, soldiers at war, children cutting themselves, diet, eating, obesity. There's loads of stuff in the papers every day. So find it online and paste it across or retype it, do whatever. Do something on everything. And that most people with Facebook pages don't do enough. They have a Facebook page, but they post on it about once a week or maybe once every couple of weeks. You need to post every single day. On our BWRT corporate page, Julie scours the internet and newspapers looking for articles to put up. Helen, thank you. I was about to say that. And you can share from that page and always take the article and post it and say, this is what I do. This is very important. That's the lazy way of doing it. Look and find out what Julie's posted. That's on the BWRT corporate page and steal it. We're very happy about that. It's nicer if you say share from the BWRT page or that they know it's ours, but we're not too concerned. But otherwise, anything that's on the news, anything that's in the papers, because it's on the news, because it's in the papers, people are twittering about it. I don't do Twitter. It's a good thing to do. I don't do it. I've got a LinkedIn account, but I don't do much for that either, mainly because I'm too busy most of the time. And when you don't do promotion because you're too busy, that's a good sign. So make sure you find something. And if you can't find something, just write. If you only wrote 150 or 200 words, it will take you maybe 15 minutes to write a couple of hundred good words. If it took you half an hour about anxiety or depression, self-harm, anything at all, just put it on your website or put it on your Facebook page. That will find its way into the public feed. So, Vicky, that's how to get more people to it. Don't do clickbait where you put something, some fake headline so people click on it. That really turns people off. It needs to be information that encourages people to look to your website, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, actually. So you share any article that you find anywhere at all about mind work or the psyche or anything else. And make sure that every time you post anything on your Facebook page, that you state very clearly, nobody's on it's just our corporate page. You can't join it, Vicky. It's our corporate page. You'll find it by typing in. If you type BWRT, you'll find it. It's just a corporate page. And in fact, Julie's put the link up many times. And Julie's listening on this class, so I know she will put the link up later in the main feed. In our Facebook group, and you can link it from there. It's easy enough to find though, and take anything from there. Make sure that every post that you put on your business page states that this is what you do, because the public will see that. So if you're writing about anxiety, people will find it purely and simply because the way social media works, if anxiety is in the news, everything about, thank you, Alan, perfect. So Julie won't have to do that. Now, there you are, Vicky, that will get you onto the BWRT organization page. And anybody else for that matter who wants to look at it, because whether you're BWRT qualified or not makes no difference. The stuff that's on that page has a huge amount of information on it that you can take previous posts and put them up. But getting back to the point, put something every single day, not every other day, not a couple of times a week, because that'll do. It won't do. It doesn't work. Make sure every post states that this is what you do. You have to keep on and on and on and on, so that people, as soon as they see it, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, you get known. People say it's easy for me because I know, well, when I started, I wasn't known. I was a dance teacher. Nobody knew that I was a hypnotherapist or a therapist at all. And I've built it, but nobody helped me. I've done it all on my own, which is how I know what I'm doing. Networking, I'm in two minds with networking. It's not something I've done myself, but it can help as long as you network with people who are not in direct competition with you. That's obviously important. And this bottom bullet point here, finding success is not easy, no matter what anybody tells you or how it looks from the outside. It is relentless hard work. That's what it is. Those of you that know that BWRT started just over 5 years ago from absolutely nothing, and now it's a global network, if you like, and it's known in many places, but it's still growing. We're still working at it. Didn't happen just because. It wasn't, we didn't get lucky. We work incessantly at it. And if you want to be as successful as you believe you ought to be, the only way to get to that is to work incessantly at it. Now, coming back to something I said at the beginning, it's no more difficult or easier now than it was 30 years ago when I first started. In those days, it was an ad in the newspaper that had to be paid for, of course, no free advertising, a brochure to send out in answer to inquiries, which had to match the style of the advert. Now, nothing's different. It's social media advertising, and a page on the website that has to match the social media advert. So it's exactly the same as when I started, except it's much easier. What is harder today is that people have more awareness of the number of therapies and the number of therapists are available. I don't think there's any greater numbers of people available. It's just that people have more awareness of it. And what is easier today is that people are more savvy about therapy and therefore more likely to seek it out. Now, when I first went into practice, what happened was that people, if they knew I was involved with hypnotherapy, as they walked past me, but they'd do that. Don't look at his eyes. I think they used to believe, the truth of it is they used to believe you do something a bit odd with your face. Sharon, what I do works. Sharon, because you've I'm not sure how long you've known me for. I think it's within the last 5 years and via Rafik, of course. But you know how BWRT is being built. And I'm still doing the same thing. Promotion. I mean, what I'm doing today, this may get me some extra students. I don't know. That isn't why I've done it. But if you want to get an online presence, this is a great way to do it. Run a free webinar, punt it about on the websites, run a free webinar on anything. It's not difficult to do. You can do a free one on Zoom. You can get 45 minutes for Zoom. So Zoom allows you to do 45 minutes of free click meeting. You can have a free trial. So do a free webinar so people get to know you. In other words, just keep on promoting yourself. You, as I've said at the bottom here, you gain nothing by wondering or worrying what people will think about you posting all the time. For every one person that gets fed up and says, oh, it's bloody Terence Watts again, there'll be others who are seeing you for the very first time. I'm going to go on to the next page in a moment, but let's have a few comments, questions, or remarks about what we've covered here so far. Good. So the most important thing there, post something every single day relevant to what you do. Okay, next page. For your website, okay, and this is the equivalent of the brochure. If the promotion on Facebook is the equivalent of the newspaper advertising that I used to do at the beginning, this is the equivalent, and the brochure was the answer to it. This is the answer to your Facebook advertising. The content of your every single day post must appear somewhere on your website. And if it isn't there, add it. So if you write something about self-harm, just because you want to post something and you think, okay, this is all in the news at the moment. Make sure there is something about self-harm somewhere on your website. They don't have to necessarily land immediately on it, but it must be somewhere on your website. And you should have a search on your website so people can type into the search box to find out the content that they're after. So if it's not there, add it. You don't have to be an expert in anything. If all you knew about self-harm was that people do it, you could just write something along the lines of self-harm is a growing scourge, and there are frequently underlying anxieties. So you're bending it round to what you work with, frequently underlying anxieties, and that's right up your street. That's what you do, something of that sort. And that they can come along and see you, and you will advise accordingly and help them find the ideal therapist. That's something to write with anything you didn't actually know a great deal about. Now, the potential client is much more interested in what you can do than how you do it. There are therapists who post a whole load of stuff about how they do the work, and it's really sort of self-promotion. It's a killer for getting clients. Don't forget, the client will have seen you somewhere before they find your website usually. Then they will assess you by your website before they even come to see you. And if they don't like what they believe they're discovering via your website, they're never going to come to see you. It's as simple as that. So the potential client is more interested in what you can do rather than how you do it. They're more interested in what you know than where you learned it. So, you can tell them you studied with Terence Watts, or you studied at the Essex Institute, or the Brain Working Research Institute, the BWRT Institute. You can tell them those things. They're not really interested in that. They're interested in what you can do more than how you can do it, what you know rather than where you learned it. Now, moving on to answering Dawn's question here, actually, as these pages. Know who and what you want to work with and write your copy to appeal to that person. Now, many therapists make the mistake of thinking, right, well, I'm new, so I've got to work with everything because that way I'll get every single client. No, you won't. If you try to appeal to every known problem to man, if you try to appeal to every known psychological problem, you'll get fewer clients than if you try to appeal to 3 or 4. And I can guarantee you that I've been teaching since 1999. So 20 years of teaching tells me that. And if it's the students I've had that narrowed their advertising, they're the ones that got the best results. Do you know, I never actually, when on my brochure and on my advert, I never actually stated that I worked with any particular thing. I used to say private, professional, confidential help with stress, anxiety, and all mind-related matters. That's what I used to say. I didn't list a whole load of things like IBS, eating, sleeping, insomnia, social phobias. I didn't list those. Never needed to. Just said that same thing. Private, professional, confidential help with stress, anxiety, and all mind-related matters. And because that way the clients will, if they wonder if you do something, they're going to ask. So write your copy to appeal to that person, the people you want to work with. If you want to work with anxiety, make sure that your website has a lot about anxiety on it, not about how you learned how to work with it, but the sort of things that you can work with. As I've said, it's no good trying to sell cutlery to somebody who wants to buy fish and chips. In other words, it's no good telling people how you might do it, and how you learned it, how you know it's important. Tell them that you can do it for them. Show them the advantages of coming to see you, because there's got to be advantages to see you. Now, if you've got a link to your website from an ad or an article, make sure, this is really very important, make sure it goes to this page about the same subject. So if the article or ad is about anxiety, the first thing the client must see when they click on it is information about anxiety, not where you learned to work with it or how amazing your trainer was. So I'm coming back, I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. So let's suppose, for instance, some film star or rock and roll star or pop star or whatever posts up that they've been suffering anxiety for the last 5 years or something. Okay, you'll put that in your Facebook page. So-and-so says they've had anxiety this time. This is the sort of thing I help with, blah, blah, yada, yada. Put the page, the link on that particular post, but it must go to a page on your website about anxiety, not just to your website. You know, this came home to me very strongly many, many years ago. I was looking for tires for my car. So I clicked on an advert, this early days of the internet, about 1997 or 98. So I clicked on the link about something to do with tires. And it took me to a page that spoke about classic cars and exhausts. And I don't doubt that somewhere in that website there was something about tires, whether it would be tires for my car or not, I had no idea. So I started researching, and you often find that. And then there's a great question. Would blogs help with this? They are absolutely right. And in fact, your website would do better if you've got dynamic content. That is, content that changes. My Hypnosense website it is still high up in the search engines. It used to be higher on many more search phrases because I used to constantly add stuff to it. I was always writing a new book or tweaking it or putting a new bit of information on it. These days, I don't have time to do much with Hypnosense. It's still there, and it still sells books and videos and so on. And I still send out a newsletter. It's still there, but it doesn't do so well because I don't put new information on it. The Essex Institute site, on the other hand, and the BWRT site, because I do put stuff on those, are always in the top pages. So definitely a blog. Keep tweaking and adjusting website header, and you've understood it perfectly. Keep tweeting, keep adding new information. Even if it feels like cheating, take some information out, put something else in its place, and then maybe a few weeks later, put the original stuff back and add it to what else you put there in the first place. That way, the site gets more coverage. It's being updated more. It's more dynamic. Another thing you can do to help lock people or interest people in your website and get them coming back, because it's important that you have to have a reason to want to come back. You can, of course, offer a free MP3 relaxation. A lot of people are doing that now, so it's not unique, but nonetheless, it's still a good thing to do. But if you had, and I've suggested this to many people, but so far I've only seen 2 people that have implemented it, and that is a case study column. They don't have to be real. They shouldn't be real, really. It can be composites or case studies that you made up. They must have the ring of truth. So you've got a case study column which you change once a week. Now, if you did that once a week, and you'd say a male, we'll call him JH, age 37. I'm making this up as I go along, by the way. Age 37 came to me with some social phobia that he developed only after he met up with his new girlfriend, and now he's suffering extreme shyness and blushes very easily, and wondered if I could help him. So we sat down, had a conversation, etc., and just go through the case study a bit. Now, people like reading those sorts of things. People like reading agony columns and their horoscopes and so on. So you could, if you wanted to, if you've got the Warrior Settlers Nomad skills, you could have a Warrior Settlers Nomad column on your website where you put a help for the week. I used to do something like that on the Hypnosense Facebook page, but something on the website which says, are you warrior, are you settler, are you nomad, and put help up for the week for each group, things like that. In other words, something that is dynamic and being added to the website all the time. And the more relevant it is to what's going on, and you really ought to keep abreast with everything that's going on. I mean, at the moment, if you could find a way of getting the word Donald Trump into your post, you can get people to look at it. Or Theresa May. It doesn't matter whether you're interested or not. Theresa May is struggling. This is just a suggestion. I'm not saying you should do it. It's something that would work. If you put on your Facebook page, I wonder how anxious Theresa May feels about the next vote. Anxiety can be extremely debilitating, but she doesn't show it. Do you? ? I can help you. Can you see how that sort of thing works? Linking up to what's in the news. This is the most important thing. Linking up to what's going on all the time. Stuff that people are resonating with already, that they're already got in their head and in their thoughts. Yes, Michael, you're absolutely right. To be relevant to what people are thinking about. And if you can make it local to you, it's even better. Amanda, you can refer to your trainer and the way that you were trained. You trained with me a long time ago, and you trained on several of my courses. You've done BWRT. So you've got loads of experience, and you can say, during my training, we covered, and you can do it that way. Now, some of the stuff that I'm coming up to in a minute will help a lot with that, Amanda. Case studies would be okay, Karen, yeah. As long as they're anonymized, Isabel, yeah. GDPR only means that you mustn't share information which can be identified. But a good thing to do is if you're sharing a genuine case study, make it a combination of that and another one, so you combine 2 together, or change the sex and change the age and change 1 or 2 of the details so that it could not possibly be identified. Then you're okay with GDPR. because as long as they can't be identified, there is no breach of confidentiality, which is what the GDPR is about. You can do anything with it. I quote case studies in all my training. Sometimes they're composites of 3 people that presented with the same issue. Sometimes they're one person from whom I've gained permission, but I've changed the age and I've changed the gender. But people are fascinated by case studies, and they want, especially if somebody's suffering anxiety, you can work this out for yourself. If you were suffering from anxiety and you went onto a website where there was a success story of where anxiety had been resolved by whatever therapy was being offered, you'd be more inclined, you'd remember that one, be more inclined to go to that one than people who told you 100,000 words about how they learned to work with anxiety. Does that make sense to everybody? That showing them a case study that you've worked with is much, much more powerful than telling them that you do those things. There's the old show, not tell adage, isn't there? And it's very important. You see, now, remember, as I said, I started in 1989 and I was successful from the very beginning, but I've always done a lot of promotion of self. Always. Talked about it every single possibility, every single time that I could talk about it. I talked about it in the baker's shop when I went to get my lunchtime sandwich. I once went to a dentist. I got an infection in my teeth and I was given 2 lots of antibiotics and I was in a lot of pain. And in the chemist, the lady said to me, "God, this must be painful." And I said, "Not really. I'm a hypnotherapist. I've used hypnotherapy to drown the pain." That was a lie because I don't do self-hypnosis. She said, "Really? How does that work?" I said, "Oh, it's really very easy." And the next thing I knew, there was half a dozen people in the shop, all totally interested in what I was doing. And I got 2 or 3 clients from that. Alison, case studies are much better than testimonials. Sharon, I've seen your typing, but I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. Case studies are much more interesting. People tend to not believe testimonials, even when they're true, even when they're real. Case studies are much better. And people don't really take a lot of notice if they're real or not. They just read it like they read a story. And well, you could use that. No. You could say that, disguise it a little. You could say that in your therapist capacity as a manager, something of that sort. Amanda, you can find a way. If you've helped a lot of team members, in fact, you could just say you've actually acted as therapist to a lot of team members that work with anxiety and stress, etc. Elizabeth, that's perfect. Yeah, Elizabeth, that you're doing everything right. You should be getting busier. Claire, absolutely right. So, talk about it at every single opportunity. I never missed a trick. I used to bore people rigid, but I became successful and I'm still successful and I still like talking, as you all notice. I'm going on to the next page now. Yeah, that's the important thing, Elizabeth, getting lots of likes and so on. So more about websites. If you don't grab their attention in the first 5 seconds, they'll probably leave. Now, Vicky, because you haven't had any referrals, it may be that your website is crap. No, I'm not being rude, or that it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. If you give somebody a business card in a newsagents or something, okay, they won't come directly to you, Vicky. They'll go to your website. They won't come directly to you from the website, from their card. They'll tell you that they found you there. They might bring the card with them. You need to do it more than that. You need to make sure that the hairdresser knows that if the client brings the card, they get a discount. Then you'll know who it's from. And they will look at you on the website first. Even if it doesn't have your website address on it, they'll check you out. So if your website doesn't confirm that you are totally professional and worth going to, you won't get the referrals. Yeah, okay. But yeah, all right, Vicky. But they'll go to the website first, Vicky. Now, Vicky, what you're doing is yes, but. And you can probably recognize it. When you start getting a yes, but, it means that you're not looking for what I'm doing. What am I doing wrong? I've never yes, butted anything in my life as a career, in my career as a hypnotherapist. Yes, but what you're doing is, yeah, I tried that, but what you said, yes, I tried that. I wonder why it didn't work. That's a whole different ballgame. So if you don't grab their attention in the first 5 seconds, they'll probably leave. The average length of time visit on their website is 5 seconds. You've got to grab their attention. You must write your copy yourself. If your web designer writes it, it'll attract people who like their style. And if your personality differs from theirs, cognitive dissonance will be a problem. They come along to see you and you don't seem at all like they thought you were going to be. That's a good way of looking at it, Michael. Pretend to be a client for your service, for your own service. Yeah, look at it from the client's point of view. It's a good way of doing it. Just looking in at yourself as if from the outside. When you've written your own copy for your website, get as many people to check it for typos and grammatical errors as you can. Now, write what you write is no good. The number of words doesn't matter. It's the way words are constructed. You can write a lot of words on a website and get nothing. You can write a few words and get a lot of trade from it. And I used to be a salesman, and I'm a copywriter. So giving talks as well, good. Yeah, that's always a good way of working. And I've written websites that did nothing, and I couldn't see why, but I recognize it must be me. It's like the old Yellow Pages, you know. People used to say, adverts in Yellow Pages don't work, and they missed out an important word from that. It's the word that allows them to make a change. When they say adverts in Yellow Pages don't work, they've missed off the word my at the beginning. My adverts in Yellow Pages don't work. Okay, so nowadays it's not Yellow Pages, it's Facebook. And you will see from time to time, Facebook adverts don't work. Again, missed off the word my. Facebook adverts do work. Of course they work if you get them right. If they don't work, you've not got them right. It's as simple as that. So when you've written your website, get as many people to check it for typos and grammatical errors as you can. It must be totally professional. Yeah, it can be, but if you do impact the right way, it's not overselling. If you're giving information rather than saying book now, book now, book now, but just giving information that is relevant to the client, they don't feel it as overselling. You're just telling them more about their anxiety, for instance. If somebody got onto your website about looking for anxiety, and you said something like, "Did you know that anxiety starts at least half a second before you're even aware it's there? It's ticking away in the back of your mind before you're even aware of it. By the time you're aware of it, it's a done deal. It's already buzzing. It's already in full flight. And by then, it's so difficult for you to do anything about it, etc." You can carry on with that. And nobody's going to see that as overselling. They're going to see it as giving information. If, on the other hand, you said, "My method of working with anxiety is superb. I train from the best. And in fact, there's very few people that have done as much work." Now that looks like selling. Because can you see the difference there, Sharon? Giving information doesn't look like overselling. Urging people to buy from you can look like overselling. So what you write needs to be very carefully balanced. Karen, you always need to update. Yeah, you still need to update your text from time to time because people just say, "Oh yeah, read that." So no, too many text errors, confusing statements, or links that go nowhere are bad news. Now, the first paragraph has got to show the major benefit of therapy. The second paragraph should show the advantage of coming to you. That is your unique selling proposition. Sharon, you're absolutely right. If you've got exactly what it's going at, that won't be perceived as overselling, and that won't create skepticism. That will create interest. And you have to remember that everything you write on your website is all about creating interest. If you create enough interest, the client will buy. You haven't got to sell. Create enough, well, you are selling, but they don't know that. Create interest and the client will be inclined to come to you. If you create interest but leave a question in their mind, they'll be fascinated and they'll remember where they were when they saw that. They'll remember when they found this fantastic bit of information, and so when you hit the cognitive gap, it's very powerful. So the second paragraph should show the advantage of coming to you, your unique selling proposition. Now, the bottom two bullet points here are really very important. Think. It's in capital letters and bold because it's so important. Think about what you write. I've been in practice since 2010. It's nowhere near as effective as I've worked with anxiety since 2010. I've conducted more than 10,000 hours with clients. Is that for Paul? Then I've worked with more than 1,000 cases of depression, even though the first number is 10 times bigger than the second. Now, as a lot of you know, I often say I've got 35,000 client hours, but there's a major difference. The reason I say I've got 35 client hours is I'm not trying to attract clients. I'm trying to attract students. Students need to know how many client hours I've got to have the confidence of what I teach. So it reverses when you're trying to catch a student, when you're trying to catch a client. So with a client, telling them you've done 1,000 cases of depression is much more powerful than 10,000 sessions with clients. So again, one-shot advertising never works. Some people, I've spoken to people who say, then they tried advertising once and didn't get anything. How many times did you advertise? Well, I put one advert in. Doesn't work. You have to repeat it. One-shot advertising never works. Not only do very few people respond to the first ad, most don't even consciously see it unless they're actively looking for it. Now, this third bullet point, always remember that too much information, too much clarification confuses. There are people who put great long posts up, therapists who put massively long posts up. I'm not going to name any of them. There's more than one that put great long posts up. And I'll bet that most of you don't ever read the whole post. You read about, well, I won't quote the number of words or anything, but you seldom read the whole post because the brain gets tired of reading it because mostly it's repetition. Now, if the site has a constant flow of new information, then it's interesting. If it's broken up with subheads, then it becomes interesting. But if it's just a great long stream of text, the same thing applies on your website. If you try to over-clarify what happens, give new information, but don't keep trying to clarify the same information over and again. Lainey, this is quite common, actually, yeah. It suggests, Lainey, that you're not consistent with your promotion because consistent promotion produces pretty much consistent interest. Now, of course, most of the time I'm working on finding students rather than finding clients, but it's exactly the same because I've done both. And consistent marketing is really it, you know. Claire, how many posts have you put on your business Facebook page in the last week? In this last week, how many posts have you put up? Daily. But that's not telling me how many. How many have you put up? Is it 7? Because that's not enough. If you've got no clients, you want in a week 21, 24, 25, 5 to 7 posts a day is good. There must be something not really grabbing people with the posts. Because if you're, you know, Claire, if I put 5 posts on Facebook every day, I would be inundated. So look at what you've written and find out why. Get other people to look at it and see why they're not getting it. Yes, Karen, I've just seen what you've commented there as well, actually. So the most important thing, folks, is not to start falling into the Brainy. I could put 5 a day on, but you know, but if you've got time to do it, it's great stuff. No, they're not, Isabel. So you have to notice what it is. But you see, if you've got a public page, it goes in the news feed, doesn't it? You see, the corporate page. This is the important thing. Claire, I'm assuming it's a public page that you're talking about, a corporate page. Yeah, absolutely, Helen. That's good. I don't think so, Claire. I don't believe they are being shown less. I think what you're posting there is Facebook judges by the number of likes and the number of people that look at it. That's what governs it. Well, you know, Sharon, that's exactly what it's getting at. That's when they're talking about promoting themselves and telling you, you know, how fantastic they are. And they finish off with, I love my job. You know, it's egotistical. And as soon as your ego gets into your website or your Facebook page, as soon as your ego gets into it, it tends to start fading, you know. Oh, okay, Claire. You should get clients from that, unless it's only friends that are following it. Yes, I do, Vicky. I post everywhere I can, actually. Form a group. That gives you another place to post in. Yeah, Alan, good. I was just saying just now, put headings and subheadings, images as well. You're right, the internet is created late. There's some good information on here, people, besides what I'm telling you about. There's some good information here. If you can post other group pages as well, really, it's always good. In fact, the more you post on social media, the more you put your name out there. Twitter is good. I don't do it because I don't need the extra work, but Twitter is good. I have done, Dan. I haven't recently, but you see, yeah, I've done paid advertising and always got good results. But you've got to be very specific, and you need to be ultra professional. At risk of getting somebody biting my head off, if you're not getting results, your posts aren't professional enough. So look at a few posts that are professional and that people are getting results. See what you're doing that is different from the people that are getting results, because there must be a reason. The world doesn't gang up on you. Fate doesn't gang up on you at all. You know, several of you today are doing the yes but thing. And you're giving me all sorts of reasons why, you know, you've done this and done that and nothing's happening. Now you've got into a certain mindset because you're showing no curiosity. You're doing a protest. And that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Ego does, yeah, Sharon, ego has to be kept out of it. Adelina, good, that's right, yep. There's a couple of points here. Fourth bullet point down. What you believe you'll get is exactly what you'll get. Your belief is a message to your subconscious and will provide you with matching ideas. Those of you on here today that are telling me you've posted all these and you're not getting anything, you've missed off. You've looked at it the wrong way. You're confirming that nothing happens instead of putting yet on the end or need to change something. The post is constantly saying it's not working. And so you're telling your reptilian complex, if you're into BWRT, if you're not the deepest part of your subconscious, that what you do doesn't work. Believe you won't get clients or that it doesn't work. And your subconscious will have you writing copy that's got no pull. Believe that you will find a way to get clients and you get different ideas altogether. Don't forget, I walk my talk. I had to market BWRT from scratch when nobody knew what it was. And look what it's become. It did not happen by accident. It was done because I'm clever with words, and I'm clever with words. I took a writing course. A lot of you don't even know that. I joined the Writers Bureau to learn how to write because they teach you to write copy, fiction, and non-fiction, and I wrote everything. I took a writing course to do it, and I practiced, and I always write every day. If I don't feel like writing, I've got a bit of a block. I still write at least 500 words every day. Know beyond doubt that there's no mysterious thing that you weren't taught, and you'll start to use what you know to the best possible effect. The worst thing to do is when you're not getting clients is decide you need to learn something else because you're completely diluting your skill set. Absolutely diluting your skill set. If you understand that whatever you've got can be successful, the market is overcrowded. There's a nonsensical excuse for not getting clients. If the marketplace is crowded, more people know about the market, and there's therefore far more opportunities of sales. Sometimes you see 5 and 6 car sales next to each other. They always do better than the car sales that were on their own. And this last bullet point here, any of you, do you really believe there'll never be another therapy millionaire? And can you honestly say why it will not be you? Now that's a question I'm putting out to you. Do you really believe there'll never be another therapy millionaire? I know there'll be another therapy millionaire. Won't be me. I don't even try to be. But I know there'll be another therapy millionaire. If I wanted to be, I could probably be if I live long enough. But can you say why it would not be you? Lainey, good, okay. Right, yes, coasting is no good, Lainey. You can't coast if you want to be ultra successful. And when you hit success, you must stay there. Athletes, when they hit the top of their form, work harder and harder to stay there. Lainey, I'm glad this has had and made an impression on you. Genevieve flyers do tend to end up in the bin unless there is something very special on them. Dawn, yes, you're right. There, of course, there'll be another therapy millionaire. I mean, I'm only remarkable in that I've been in this business for 30 years and I've earned my entire living in this business right from the beginning. And I've paid off all the debts that I've managed to acquire in my dance school, which I also remember the first 10 years. That's what's remarkable about me, that I've done everything. And I don't owe any money. I've never had a bank loan for this business. I don't have an overdraft facility. My credit cards, I sound like I'm boasting. I don't mean it that. What I'm saying is that I have worked extremely hard. I still work 7 days a week. I work 12 hours a day most days. Most weeks I work at a minimum of 70 hours. A lot of you already know that. The more I work, it seems to me, the more energy I have. The more energy I have, the more successful I come. And because the more energy I have and the more successful and the more my belief, it's self-cycling. This is why what you believe is exactly what you'll get. Believe you won't get clients and your subconscious will have you writing copy that's got no pull. So Vicky and Claire and anybody else who said, I've done this, but I don't get any work. What you're believing at that moment, instead of saying, okay, I've got to find out why, you're believing that what you write doesn't get clients or that clients don't come to you. You're looking at it superstitiously. It's more than a positive mental attitude, Helen. It's got that to it, but it's more than that. It's not so much positive mental attitude. It's knowing that whatever you do, is going to have an effect upon your brain, upon the way you work. And if your thoughts, when I'm training people with BWRT and they say, I don't see how this could work, I point out to them, they're looking for it to not work. Whereas when they say, I wonder how long it'll be before I can do this, they're looking for it to work. There's a hell of a lot of difference. And it's training your subconscious, your reptilian complex, to search relentlessly for what you want. Know what you want. Search relentlessly. Not the law of attraction. I've got a rude word that I won't say about the law of attraction, because it's nothing more than the reptilian complex obeying what you're putting into it. So I'm hoping I've not offended anybody today by being a bit straight with it. It is hard work to be successful. If you're not successful with what you're doing something wrong. If you're advertising and your leaflet and your card drops to clients and your referral slips aren't working, something is wrong. It's either you're not presenting yourself professionally or you're not presenting the work professionally. It looks like it was printed on a home photocopier machine or something. In other words, you must look 100% professional.